no matter how much love you pour into her or how much you sacrifice. I learned that the hard way, and today I'm going to share my story with you. So, go ahead and like this video, and let's dive in. I gave her everything. A home she could be proud of, a business we built together from scratch, and all the love and attention I had to give. I worked hard not just for myself, but for us. I made sure she had the kind of life many people only dream about. And when it came to intimacy, we were doing just fine, more than fine, actually. If you asked anyone, they'd say we had a marriage worth admiring. At least, that's what I thought. But then I keep asking myself, why? Why would she choose someone else? What was she looking for that I couldn't give her? We had everything, didn't we? I wasn't some absent husband who forgot anniversaries or didn't pay attention. I showed up every single day for her. We talked, late at night. We'd sit on the couch and share our thoughts. Dreams, frustrations, silly jokes. Nothing felt off limits. I never once thought she was holding anything back. I believed we had the kind of communication people envy. If something was wrong, why didn't she just tell me? Now I keep wondering, was I blind? Was I too trusting? Or was she just cruel? Did she know how much this would hurt and still go through with it anyway? I remember that day so clearly. I had just bought her a new phone. It was supposed to be a surprise, something thoughtful, She'd been talking about how her old phone was starting to lag, and I thought, why not? She deserves it. I felt proud of myself, thinking about how happy she'd be when I handed it to her. When I got home, I told her I'd set everything up for her so she wouldn't have to worry about a thing. I transferred all her files from the old phone to the new one. Pictures, contacts, everything. I wanted to make sure she didn't lose a single memory. It was something I'd done before, no big deal. After the transfer was done, I thought, let me double-check everything before I wipe the old phone. It was just me being careful, the way I always am. I started going through the folders, pictures of us, videos of family gatherings, little things that made me smile. Then I saw a folder with a name that didn't really stand out. I clicked on it, not thinking much of it. The first video started playing. At first, I didn't understand what I was looking at. But then it hit me, it was her. And it wasn't just her. It was her with another man. My whole body froze. I couldn't move, couldn't think. I just stared at the screen, my heart pounding like it wanted to break out of my chest. I didn't stop at one video. I couldn't. I don't know why I kept watching, but I did. One after another, and it was always the same man. The dates on the files told a story I wasn't ready to hear. This wasn't some one-time mistake. This had been going on for over a year. My heart didn't just break, it shattered. Each video was like a hammer smashing what I thought I knew about my life. The woman I'd loved, trusted, built a life with, she wasn't who I thought she was. That evening, I handed her the new phone. I'd spent hours transferring her files, making sure everything was just right. She took it from me, her face lighting up with that smile she always gave when she was genuinely happy. "Thank you," she said, kissing me on the cheek. "You're the best husband ever." I stood there, holding back the wave of emotions threatening to break through. My mind screamed, "Best husband? Really?" I looked at her, and all I could think about was how many times those lips had kissed him. How many lies had she told with that same smile? Did she even feel guilty, or was she just that good at pretending? Was I just another fool in her game? But I didn't say anything. Not then. I smiled back, nodded, and told her, "You deserve it." My words tasted bitter, but I didn't let it show. The last thing I needed was for her to know what I'd found. Over the next few days, I went into planning mode. I didn't cry. I didn't yell. I didn't even confront her. I had no time for that. Instead, I did what any businessman would do. I prepared. The first thing I did was look into our business. We'd built it together, but I knew I couldn't let her walk away with half of everything I'd worked so hard for. Quietly, I started shifting things around. There was a trust one had set up a few years back, just in case. I moved certain assets into it, ones she wouldn't have easy access to if things went south. I didn't tell her. She had no idea. At night, when I am supposed to be sleeping, the thought of what I watch keeps replaying on the mind. I wonder why the camera? Why record it? Was she proud of what she was doing? Was it some kind of trophy for her? Did she ever think I'd see it? Each question cut deeper than the last. But the more I thought about it, the clearer my plan became. If she could play me for a fool, I'd make sure I wasn't one when this was over. I waited a full week before I made my move. It wasn't easy pretending everything was fine, sitting across the dinner table, smiling at her while knowing what I knew. But I needed time to make sure I was ready for this moment. That evening, I called her to the living room. She looked at me, confused. "What's going on?" she asked, sensing something was off. I didn't answer right away. I just told her to sit down. My voice was calm, maybe too calm. I could see the concern in her eyes, but she didn't push. I turned on the TV, connected my phone, and hit play. The room went dead silent. On the screen was one of the videos, the clearest one I could find. Her with him, laughing, kissing, doing things that she should only do with me. For a few seconds, she just stared, frozen. Then, the denial came. "Where did you get this?" She stammered, her voice shaky, her eyes darting between me and the TV. "This isn't what it looks like. It's not." I cut her off before she could dig herself deeper. "It's from your phone," I said. My voice stayed steady, but I could feel the anger boiling inside me. "I transferred everything myself. Don't insult me by pretending it's not you." She opened her mouth, maybe to deny it again, but nothing came out. She looked away, unable to meet my eyes. I let the silence sit there for a moment before pulling out the divorce papers. I placed them on the coffee table in front of her. "You got a week to sign these," I said. "Get a lawyer if you want, but let's not drag this out." That's when the tears started. At first it was just a few sniffles, but then it turned into full-blown sobbing. She started begging, apologizing, saying she could change, that it was a mistake, that she loved me. The same things you'd expect anyone to say when they're caught. I shook my head. "You didn't care about me when you filmed these," I said. "Don't expect me to care about you now." I've always heard people say, you can't trust a woman's tears, and in that moment I understood. Was she crying because she was sorry? Or was she crying because she'd run out of lies to hide behind? I didn't care enough to figure it out. Her excuses meant nothing to me. Then I delivered the final blow. I leaned forward, making sure she heard every word. "If you don't sign by the end of the week," I said, "I'll make sure your family, friends, and everyone else sees exactly why this marriage is ending." Her sobs turned into a panic plea, but I'd already said what I needed to say. I stood up, walked out of the room, and left her sitting there, crying into her hands. The next morning, I packed up my camping gear. The tent, sleeping bag, some food, and my old journal, everything I thought I'd need for a few days away from the world. I didn't tell anyone where I was going. I just left. I needed to get away. Away from her, away from the house, and away from her. When I arrived at the woods, it was so quiet, and I needed that. I pitched my tent near a small clearing where the trees swayed gently in the breeze. The air smelled clean, earthy, and alive. It was a strange contrast to how I felt inside, broken, confused, and angry. That first night, I sat by the campfire, watching the flames dance. The only sounds were the crackling of the fire and the occasional rustling of leaves. It was the first time in weeks that I felt lighter. Not happy, not even close, but like I could finally hear myself think. I pulled out my journal, one I hadn't touched in years. At first, I didn't know what to write. My hand hovered over the page for what felt like forever before I scribbled the first question that popped into my mind. Was it me? I couldn't stop writing after that. Did I miss something? Was I blind to the signs? Or was she always going to do this, no matter how much I gave her? Page after page, I poured out everything. I wrote about the years we spent building our life together, the sacrifices I made to make sure she had what she wanted, the moments I thought were real, and the videos that proved they weren't. At some point, The tears came and I let them. Sitting alone in the dark woods, under a sky full of stars, I let it all out. It was messy, it hurt, but it also felt like the first step toward something better. As I kept writing, something shifted. My thoughts turned from questions about her to plans for myself. I deserve better, I wrote, the words etched deep into the page. From now on, I'll make sure I give better to myself. I started sketching out how I would rebuild when I got back. I wrote down steps to move on, everything from focusing on the business to finding new hobbies, and maybe even therapy. Then I wrote about the divorce. I had already made sure the papers stated that she would forfeit the house. She'd get some compensation, but not nearly as much as if she went to court. But I knew she wouldn't risk it. She wouldn't risk those videos becoming public. I hated having to think this way, but after what she did, I couldn't afford to be soft. In the quiet moments, I couldn't stop myself from wondering about him. Who was this man? Was he married too? Did he know the damage he'd caused? Part of me wanted to confront him, but what would that change? She chose to cheat. He was just the person she picked. Still, I wondered why she didn't go to him now. Maybe she would. Maybe when I got back, she'd already be gone. And I secretly hoped that was the case. I hoped that when I returned, the papers would be signed, and the house would be empty. I didn't want another confrontation. I just wanted her gone, so I could begin to reclaim my life. A few days after I left for the woods, I got her text. She said she'd signed the papers and would leave as I'd instructed. She begged me to reconsider my decision, trying to remind me of all the good times we had together. She talked about our laughter, our late-night talks, and how much we'd built as a couple. But here's the thing. If those good times had meant as much to her as she claimed, she would have stuck to just me. She wouldn't have let another man into the space we created together. When I read her message, I felt conflicted. It wasn't a moment of joy or triumph. It was bittersweet. I wasn't happy to see her leave because, apart from this betrayal, she'd been a good companion for years. We worked well together, we had a rhythm, and there were genuinely good times. But now, knowing what she'd been doing behind my back, I couldn't help but wonder, was there more she'd hidden? If she could lie about something this big, what else had she kept from me? At the same time, there was a kind of relief in her message. The thought that I could now take back control of my life, free from the lies and deceit, gave me a strange sense of freedom. I could start over, redesign my future exactly the way I wanted it. No more second-guessing, no more wondering if the person I loved was being honest with me. They say time heals all wounds, but I don't think that's true. Some wounds don't heal, they just scar over. But scars aren't a bad thing. They remind us of what we survived, and what we won't ever let happen again. What do you think? If you were in my shoes, what would you do if you found out a secret like this? And now that I'm starting over, what do you think I should focus on? Let me know your thoughts in the comments.